So what if I told you that you can literally increase your damage by up to 10 times doing just a handful of really easy tricks? Like especially so you can immediately increase your damage to really insane levels, but most important, you can make your character downright invincible with a few strategic mods here and there. So in this video we're gonna cover all of the amazing upgrades that you're likely missing right now, so let's jump right into it. Now I think it goes without saying, but I will say this anyway, if you haven't done so already, like especially you slackers out there that did not upgrade your iconic weapons yet, go ahead and do so all the way up to legendary quality, because that literally means you might even double its damage right off the bat. Now if you don't have enough resources for that, like money, crafting mats, or even the iconic weapons themselves, there are plenty of videos here on this channel, so go ahead and check them out beforehand. Now from this point on we're gonna use this and a bunch of mods to basically increase your damage by crazy numbers. Even though you might see a certain number on the item card, that's gonna be way higher when you're using it in actual combat. To be more specific, for the weapons we're gonna use a couple of mods. One of them is called Crunch, while the other one is gonna be called Pacifier. One of them increases straight up your damage and the other one your crit damage instead. Also, as far as the damage numbers you're seeing right now on these items, they don't matter at all right now, because these will completely scale up to insane levels once you apply them to higher level loot. So let's begin how you can find the Crunch and the Pacifier, and luckily enough we can get both of these from the same vendor, and he is going to be this one right here. He is located into the western part of Santo Domingo, so he is in kind of like this open market area really close to the clothing shop in the vicinity of it. So once you go over there, go ahead, check its inventory and scroll all the way up at the bottom, and if you see two crafting specs, one for the Crunch, one for the Pacifier, go ahead and purchase them right away. Now if for some reason you don't see them in his inventory, just skip ahead 24 hours and repeat the process until they finally appear. And keep in mind, we need the crafting specs and not the mods themselves, because we're gonna use those crafting specs to craft as many of these as possible until we get a ton of epics out of it. Which kind of brings me to the second point on the list, and that is the fact that, well, you will need a few points of investment into crafting in the technical ability. And to be more specific, you need the Grease Monkey, so that this allows you to craft epic items, and then you're gonna need, of course, the X Nihilo that gives you a 20% chance to actually craft an item for free. So this means that every time you're crafting one of these mods, you have a chance to spawn it for free as an epic variant instead. And also, by the way, maybe having some points into cost optimization, workshop, and mechanic can help you to disassemble the useless ones like the greens and the blues to get more materials back than you're consuming to craft them in the first place. So this is kind of like what I am doing right here. So yeah, I crafted about 40 of these, and it seems that I'm getting at least a handful of them whenever I'm crafting like a few dozen of them. So this is what I'm also recommending. Go ahead, craft a few dozen. The ones that you don't use, just disassemble them. You're gonna get a ton more materials back, and the rest ones that are epic quality you can go ahead and use. But let's begin with a test that I did right here. So in this footage I have the unupgraded, only rare I believe or epic quality hammer, like the same pistol. We're using it right here, and as you can see, the highest crits that I'm pulling are about 7,000 to 8,000, and eventually you're gonna see me doing like a 35,000 critical headshot to this NPC. Now let's take a look what happens if you already upgraded your weapon to legendary and also apply one single mod. So keep in mind that this is 8 damage on the item card, but when we apply it to the weapon, now for some reason it displays, I'm not really sure if this is 2 million damage or 2,000 damage, but from the testing I already done, I kinda know it is not by far 2 million damage, but it definitely feels like 2,000 damage each time I apply one of these. So even though in my list about 3,000 damage on the item card, now when we go up against enemies, I'm doing like regular crits of 20,000 with just one of these upgrades and the legendary version of the weapon. So that's already insane. This is like a really huge one. Of course, it can go a bit up or down depending on your crit chance, so it can either be a bit over 18,000 or way more over 20,000 depending on how lucky you are. Alright, so going from behind, trying to aim for the headshot so I don't get interrupted, and that's okay. Okay, that's a lot of numbers. So over 150,000 damage with the headshots right there, and keep in mind that this is an increase from only 35,000. That was like the biggest headshot crit that I did before doing only these two upgrades. upgrades, like upgrade to legendary and increasing the mods on the weapon. But there's actually more that you can do for these weapons, and one of them is called the trajectory analysis, which increases your headshot bonus damage by 50%. Now these are legendaries, so they will cost quite a little bit. There's also a crafting recipe, and if you want to get these, you basically need to unlock Victor as a Ripper Dog, and to do that you just have to repay him back the 21,000 eddies that you owe him from the beginning of the game when he installed you the optics. Oh, and by the way, he also sells an epic version of the same optics in his inventory, so maybe go ahead and purchase it, as it holds up to 3 modding slots as well. So in this case what I did is I straight up just bought the crafting spec trajectory, which in this case cost me like 500,000 eddies, but if you buy it earlier it's probably gonna be way less expensive. And this is gonna open up this crafting recipe right here, where you can go ahead and just craft trajectory analysis over and over again for those really awesome increased headshots. And this is basically what I did right here. I stacked 3 of these, but I think they are either bugged or they cannot be stacked, because it only seems to apply the 50% damage modifier on the headshots. But here is the result even in this situation. So we're going up against these enemies. I'm still doing the regular damage, like 20,000 and whatnot, but check this out, what happens when we're doing a proper headshot. And bam, look at that, almost 200,000 headshot damage with a crit on that, and that's absolutely insane. And this is just from these 3 right here. Now I'm pretty sure that if I were to get to level 50 I could break the 1 million damage really easily, because it just scales insanely once you reach level 50, and everything is like super high in stats once you reach that level. But this is not where it all stops. Like you saw me in some of this footage that I was simply not getting any damage at all. Well, that is not a bug, that is actually a feature, even though that's kind of funny to say about this game, but you get this from a mod called Armadillo. Now there's a few ways in which you can get the Armadillo mod. You can either go in and straight up purchase this from most of the clothing vendors in the game, but there is a way to get this of a much higher quality if you also get its crafting spec. To do that you need to head over to southeastern Watson right here in this area, and here between these 2 building blocks you're going to notice that there is kind of like this open garage kind of area where you can go in and there is a crime activity happening. It's really short. Go ahead, take down these enemies, and in this box right next to the one where you completed the objective is going to be the crafting spec Armadillo. But we're gonna use the same trick as we did with the crunch mode and the previous ones to craft these over and over again until we get epics out of it using the crafting specs I was talking about. So yeah, as you can see we got quite a bunch of these, so what I will do is just apply them to my current gear. Now keep in mind that this is not full on level 50, but we still have close to 3,000 armor, and that would be about 7,000 armor at level 50, since the stat increase is even crazier at that point. But what this means is that I can go against any level on normal and hard, and I will barely get any damage from normal bullets and normal attacks. Now as far as everything else goes, you're gonna use something else to kind of bypass that, but for this armor right here is going to make you downright invincible, and I'm pretty sure that if I were to get better gear with more modding slots, I would be able to fully tank on like 99% of the damage. But what about poison, shock, burning effect, and so on and so forth? Well, here is what you can do. You can actually get a poison and shock resistant mod from one single area really quickly, and you can also go ahead and craft it. So this is going to be in the city center, really close to the area in the middle right here. You're going to notice that there is a crime activity happening, so go ahead and take everybody down. Once you do that, in the box that finishes the objective you will also find the crafting spec Panacea, I think that's how you call it. I'm not really sure how to call these, but basically what this does is it opens up this legendary crafting piece in your menu. You can go ahead and it will grant you immunity to poison and to shock at the very same time. So between these you already have a ton of immunities to a ton of incoming damage, and to the regular ones you're just gonna tank it like it is no tomorrow. But yeah, this is it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.